Because do you think? A plan. And so
If I can get
they
everybody's
do it on-
attention,
they do a plan.
before we begin our meeting,
And so
Commissioner Figueroa is going to lead us in prayer. Figueroa?
Bow your heads. Father God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you. You woke us up, and you didn't wake everybody up. So, Father, may we honor you with how we handle our business, how we approach each other, how we civility and kindness and grace. And may we, at the end of the day, hear the words, well done. In your name we pray. Amen.
We'll begin the meeting of the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. Ms. Mahon, will you call roll, please?
Montez Mendes.
Present.
Tom Butler is absent today. Helen Collier.
Here.
Rich Figueroa.
Here.
Catherine Vogel is absent today. Robbie Shaw.
Here.
Deborah Yurko.
here.
We will want to keep our fellow Commissioner Tom Butler in our thoughts and prayers. His father passed away, and he is the burial services this morning, so we want to keep him in our thoughts and prayers. I would also receive a motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Butler.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Let's go on to item C, executive session, consultation with the Commission's attorney pursuant to 5510711 of the Government Code. The Commission will receive a briefing from legal counsel concerning pending or contemplated litigation and/or settlement offers. Also receive advice from our attorney on legal matters authorized by 5510712 and under 5510774 of the Government Code, discussion of personnel matters. We'll now retire to executive session. It is now 9:43, and the commission is back in session. Item D, I don't believe there's any action to come out of executive session, so we'll move on to item E, approve the minutes for the April 5th and the May 19th meeting. Commissioners, you've had a chance to be able to review those minutes. I would take a motion at this time.
I move that we accept the minutes from April 5th and May 19th meeting.
Second.
All in favor, we have the motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
No, I'm good.
All right, let's move on to item F, which are contested cases. Item 1, F1, is Owner's Pride Companions. Ms. Melder. A little closer to us today, aren't you?
I know, I don't know why.
Wow.
Good morning.
I thought my vision improved.
Yeah. Charlotte Melder, and I was the prosecutor on this case. The facts are fairly straightforward. The respondent admitted in the hearing that he met the statutory definition of a breeder of dogs in Texas, and that he had been breeding dogs without a license in 2013. The department sought a $3,000 penalty. The ALJ agreed, and we ask that you adopt the PFD as written.
Now, I guess based on our matrices, it's actually $3,000 to $5,000 per day, but you're only seeking $3,000 penalty.
That's correct.
Okay. Is anyone here representing Owner's Pride, or is Mr. Tobler here? Commissioners, a motion?
I had a question.
Yes.
Mhm.
Who is the AU recommended that the penalty be imposed?
What are you reading?
It was a quote from the, from, I'm guessing that's.
I think that was.
It's gotta be
Probably
the
a
ALJ.
typo. I bet it's supposed to be
AG, I
ALJ.
bet, oh, got it, okay. And, were there any actions taken to,
Did he take any actions to get his license? He did.
to comply with the, after he was seeking the application, I thought there was
Mhm.
like, he had a bunch of violations, had 10 days to complete it, and I just wonder if anything was, if he attempted to do any of them.
At the hearing, he said that he had bought materials. That's it.
But I
That's
think-
it, just materials? or no
That's all he
detail?
testified to.
Okay.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, it also stated that he just said he couldn't get into compliance.
So the hearing, the inspection was October 28th, the hearing was February 22nd. He didn't feel like that was enough time for him to get into compliance, even though you're
Staff
technically
said that.
given 10 days, but he still hadn't done it by the time of the hearing.
And I apologize, my correction is staff argues that he was unable to come in compliance
Right.
for several months. Okay.
Okay. No, that's great. That was my answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Melder? A motion be in order?
Motion to adopt the PFD is written.
So moved. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item F2, Falcon Towing. I believe we do have Joshua Benuelos. You here? Go ahead and have a seat up here, sir. Ms. Cox, proceed.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Very briefly, this case began with a complaint that the respondent towed a vehicle without notice to or consent of the owner. Evidence presented at the hearing established the fact that there was actual notice to the owner that the parking was restricted at the place where she was going to leave her car and that the tow was authorized. The ALJ ruled in favor of the respondent, and the department accepts the PFD as written. May I answer any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Cox? It was the opinion of the Enforcement Division to go ahead and accept the PFD as recommended, which means to dismiss this
Yes,
action
Your
against the
Honor.
respondent.
The evidence that was presented, the first time we saw it was at the hearing, but, I mean, we accept it, so.
Okay. Mr. Benuelos, I'm not sure if you want to speak, but
No, sir.
hearing what they said.
I just
probably-
want to be present. in case
That's,
anything-
I understand. I'm just going to go ahead and mark through this so that you did not testify. So, Commissioners, a motion be in order?
Make a motion to adopt the PFD as issued.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank
Thank you.
you. I appreciate you being here, even if it's just for a short time. Let's go on to item F3, Gerald Glenn Coleman. Go ahead and have a seat up here, sir. Mr. Sharp, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ken Sharp. I'm the Enforcement Division here at the department.
The respondent in this case is Gerald Glenn Coleman, who holds a journeyman electrician license. The department issued the license to him in 2004. It expired in 2016, and then he applied to renew it. The ALJ recommended that the department deny the renewal and revoke the underlying license. In 1981, the respondent was placed on deferred adjudication community supervision for theft of a motorcycle. In 1983, the court revoked the community supervision, found the respondent guilty, and then sentenced him to 2 to 3 years in the Texas Department of Corrections. Between 1983 and 1988, the respondent was convicted of burglary of a building, burglary of a habitation, forgery, 3 separate counts of assault, 2 separate counts of theft, and aggravated robbery. And for all of these, he received a number of prison and jail sentences. He was released from prison in 1998, and the department took a chance and issued a license to him in 2004. In 2016, he was placed on deferred adjudication community supervision after he pled guilty to theft, with the value being between $20,000 and $100,000. The theft involved items stolen from the respondent's workplace, which the ALJ found directly implicates his work as a licensed electrician. The respondent claimed innocence, and he said he merely received stolen property and tried to sell it. However, the evidence showed that he had actually sold stolen items on several different occasions. The ALJ concluded the lack of rehabilitative efforts, the respondent's age at the time, 50, and his previous criminal history warranted denial of his renewal application and the revocation of his license. The department asks you to accept the PFD as it's written.
Any questions for Mr. Sharp?
And please clarify again when the last offense was?
Excuse me. It was February 3rd of 2016 when he was placed on deferred adjudication community supervision. So it would have been, I think it was 2015 when he actually committed the offense.
Got it.
And I can look that up for you if you like. It wouldn't have been too far, too much earlier.
Mr. Coleman, you have given me a public comment form. I would also let you know that, because you've never been here before, and I kind of want to step you through this. The only thing that the commissioners can take into account is that was presented at the SOA hearing. Okay, so were you present at the SOA hearing with the ALJ?
I was present at one hearing, sir.
Okay, which I assume was a SOA hearing? Okay. The only thing that you can do is talk about what took place then. Okay, you can't bring anything new into this committee hearing. Okay, so you can only confine your comments to what was presented at that time. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead and state your name for the record.
Gerald Glenn Coleman.
Proceed, Mr. Coleman.
Yes, sir. Presented at that time was what Mr. Sharp was saying is my criminal history. And understand the concern of the state involved in that, but in no way is that who I am today. I'm not that guy, I'm not that person. I made a mistake. I received a deferred adjudicated for it. I paid my restitution. I'm on probation for it. I've worked since that time, and I'm just saying that I don't know if this has relevance, but because of that event, I've lost my wife. I've depleted my savings, and all I have left is his license, and I got to take care of my child, and I just need an opportunity to keep working, because if I don't have that, you know, I'm in trouble. But that's not who I am today. I got out, my last offense before this offense in 2016 was 1988. I served my time, I got out. I was issued a journeyman's license in 2004. I held it to 2016. Regardless to what that paper is stating, as far as me doing stuff over and over, that's not the truth. I sold the stuff that I had received, and it was stolen, and I was wrong. I know I was wrong.
And that offense took place in 2014?
2000, yes, sir. 2014, yes, sir. what I was convicted for. Received deferred adjudication for. But I'm just asking just for some leniency and just to show, because what's going on is my criminal history just keep coming back and haunt me. And that's not the case. I'm not that guy. And I just want an opportunity to show that I'm not.
Any questions for Mr. Coleman?
Are there any, Mr. Coleman, and thanks for being here this morning, any letter of references that were
Yes.
submitted?
That's submitted at the
Well,
hearing?
I tried to submit it, but,
But were
At
they
the hearing,
submitted
sir.
at the hearing?
oh, well, it was, but I was supposed to submit it during the hearing, but I didn't know the procedures, and I submitted it after the hearing when I stepped out the door, so I don't know if it was,
No, it
if
wasn't
it was
admissible.
taken.
Was it admissible then?
There's one letter that came from his probation officer. That was the only one. And then otherwise, there was nothing else.
Submitted as evidence?
I think he was given the opportunity to present some, but then he didn't, and
I
so
didn't know-
they closed the
I didn't
case.
know I had to do it during the hearing, and I stepped outside and I tried to get it back in, so it never was. And I have another one here that.
Yeah, and we can't accept that.
What is the one from the probation?
That's Respondent's Exhibit 1. I can hand you my copy if you'd like to look at it.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Quicker.
And, Commissioner Yocum, can I see that
You
after?
bet.
Mr. Coleman, I apologize. The unfortunate part is, as stated earlier, we can only take in consideration those items that were presented at the hearing or the testimony was given at the hearing.
Yes.
Anything outside of that, we cannot take in consideration.
Understand.
What's the full company name of FSG? Was it-
Facility Solutions Group.
A couple of questions for the counselor.
Any other questions, Mr. Coleman, right now?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Shaw.
Counselor, can you help me a little bit? I'm trying to figure out, tell me the basis of the PFD. Tell me what the PFD is requiring. I'm a little bit confused with how I'm reading this, and it's not your fault, but it's just what I'm reading in here. I just want to make sure that I'm on the right track. What is it that the agency is asking us to do?
Well, the department seeks to deny the renewal application, and then he has a right to renew, a statutory right to renew over a period of time after it expires. And so, in essence, he still has a license, and we're seeking also to revoke that license, or you might say the right to renew the license. So those are the two things: deny the renewal and then revoke the license.
Any further questions for either Mr. Coleman or Mr. Sharp?
Just from the probation letter, what classes are being paid for?
The classes?
I think it referenced that there were classes being taken.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Is that to me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I was in a class for Thinking for a Change, a class for a drug, IOP, SOP class. It was like a behavioral class, just, for
Okay.
stuff like that.
So non-technical, non-trade related?
Yes,
classes.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks.
ma'am.
No further questions on my side, Madam Chairman.
Any other questions?
Okay, so I'm going to go back and ask the counselor another question regarding the function of the towing. I understand the electrical licensing issue, but
You're
on,
looking at
So
Yeah, excuse me, I'm going back to the, okay. So could you go back through the timeline again for me? I'm a little wavering on the timeline. Could you
Certainly.
just briefly?
Certainly. Between 1981 and 1988, he had the theft of a motorcycle, a burglary of a building, burglary of a habitation, forgery, 3 separate counts of assault, 2 separate counts of theft, in addition to the first one, and the aggravated robbery. Now, for those, as I said, he had gotten jail sentences and prison sentences. He got out of prison in 1998. And when 2004 came, he applied for a license, and we said, well, okay, fine, enough time's probably gone by, he's never ever going to do anything wrong again. But then in it was 2014, in answer to your question, October the 23rd of 2014 is when the event occurred for which he had been charged. And that was when he had stolen the electrical supplies that he was convicted for, in the $20,000 to $100,000 range. So the 2014 offense and then the 2016 deferred adjudication, the disposition in court.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Mr. Coleman, you can go ahead and have a seat. Commissioners, discussion or a motion to be in order?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm kind of struggling with this case a little bit, so I'm just gonna kind of talk
Talk through it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like I'm struggling with this case because of 2 reasons. One, we've looked at the rehabilitation efforts that have been made by the individual. I've also kind of noted in our summary and from the ALJ, certain duties that have been performed during the course of this timeline. And I'm kind of wondering, is this one of those scenarios where we can look at a probated suspension? I'm just kind of thinking this loudly. I'm just kind of working through my mind on how we can approach this. So I'll stop there for a second.
Commissioners? Further discussion or a motion to be in order at this time?
I guess in that same vein, Mr. Chairman, I guess with the a probated type suspension, is that, because as we heard the 2 choices earlier about for deny the renewal and or to revoke the license, so is the probated suspension, and how could that be shaped? Brad?
This is Brad Bowman, General Counsel, Mr. Chairman. That is certainly an option for the commission. That would be a lesser sanction than what the Enforcement Division is seeking and what the judge recommended. In that situation, I suppose you would grant the renewal application and then suspend the license and then probate that suspension, and you'd have to determine what length of time would be appropriate for that probated suspension, and then the standard terms and conditions would normally apply to that, complying with all of the laws and rules of the department, perhaps not committing any further criminal offenses. There could be some terms and conditions placed on that, so you'd have to decide what those terms would be.
Okay. And if it was to deny the renewal, what's the length of time for being able to?
If you deny the renewal and revoke the license, as the PFD recommends, he could reapply within 1 year, or after 1 year. So there's a 1 year bar on reapplying for a license once it's revoked.
So in that situation, no working at all, right?
Correct.
And then the one that I just noted could continue to work to...
If the suspension were fully probated, then yes, he would be able to continue to work during that period of time.
think I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion. Mr. Coleman, I'm going out of my way on this one. I normally don't do this. But, and I may need some help from the general counsel. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to deny the PFD, renew the license, probate the suspension for 1 year, based on the finding of facts number 14 and conclusions of law number 8. I'll stop there.
I would also recommend conclusion of law number 9. I think that
And
would-
number 9,
that- I
just
think you're-
8 and 9.
Would need to change that also.
Thank you, sir. That's my motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
I'll
And I'm
second
sorry.
that motion.
We have a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, the length of time, did we get the?
I did 1
year. Said 1
1
year.
year, okay. With the standard terms of complying with department.
That's correct.
Laws and rules.
That's correct.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
No. I believe it's 2-3 on the motion, but Kay, could you call roll, please, just to make sure?
Mike Harrison,
No.
Helen Keller,
Aye.
Rick Figueroa,
No.
Robbie Shaw,
Aye.
Deborah Yurko.
So I am correct. The motion fails 2-3. Commissioners, anyone else want to take a stab at a motion?
I'll go and take a step in the motion. And I do want to preface it with, I do struggle with this. I would love to give you another chance. Unfortunately, based on the record right now, with the repetition of it, after the rehabilitation opportunity, it is very hard to send a mixed message to our ALJs when they find a finding that they just can't justify it after a theft issue with the electricians. If I could justify that in any way, I would for you. And I wish you well, and I hope maybe if you can stay on a straighter path, that you can reapply for a license in the future again, and that the agency will give you that opportunity. That being said, I make a motion to adopt the PFD as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the PFD as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Again, I think it's 3-2 this time, but will you call roll, Ms. Mahon?
Mike Harrison,
No, I'm sorry, aye.
Helen Keller,
No.
Rick Figueroa,
Aye.
Robbie Shaw,
No.
Deborah Yurko. Aye.
That being the case, the motion did pass, so the PFD is adopted. Mr. Coleman, basically what's happened is that we have revoked your license. Staff will be in contact with you and tell you the further remedies. You do have additional administrative remedies you can follow, and they'll be in contact with you about that. I kind of echo the sentiments of Commissioner Yurko, recommendation and hopes that you would continue on this straight path. If nothing else, not for yourself, but at least for your child and your grandchildren that you mentioned. So, all right, thank you, sir. Move on to item 4, Charles Rash.
May I get that? I take it by that look you're ready for me to start.
Proceed.
Okay,
I guess I didn't say proceed, did I?
close enough.
Are you here for this case? Did you fill out a form?
No.
Okay, there's a form sitting up there on that desk, if you don't mind grabbing it and filling it out, and then you can hand it to me after.
Charles Rash.
Okay, that's fine, you still need to have a form filled out. Go ahead and proceed while he's doing that.
Thank you.
Do you have a pen, Mr. Rash?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My name is Ken Sharp. I'm enforcement prosecutor with the TDLR. The applicant in this case is Charles D. Rash. He applied for a consent tow operator license. Both the department and the administrative law judge recommend that you deny the application. In all, Mr. Rash was convicted of theft 7 times, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle twice, failure to identify to a police officer twice, evading arrest in a motor vehicle, possession of heroin, possession of marijuana, criminal trespass, driving while intoxicated, burglary of a motor vehicle, and attempted burglary of a motor vehicle. And because of his 18 convictions, Mr. Rash received 6 prison sentences, 2 parole revocations, and 12 county jail sentences. Now, he committed these offenses between 1992 and 2012. The amount of time between each of his offenses ranged from about 1 month to almost 3 years. He was released from prison on September 28th of 2015. 11 months later, he applied for the tow license. Now, the ALJ found that many of Mr. Rash's crimes were serious and that they were directly related to the occupation of being a tow operator. He concluded that the evidence does not favor licensure and it does not establish that Mr. Rash has the requisite honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness to hold a license. The ALJ recommends that you deny the license application. The department asks you to adopt that recommendation with 2 technical corrections for some things that went unnoticed until very recently. And if you want, I'll give you those right now.
Go ahead.
On page 10 of the PFD, finding of fact number 6, that's the first conviction is described for theft. Now, the correct date of the conviction was December 15th of 1992. The date cited as the conviction date, September 2nd of 1992, was actually the date of the offense. The second error is also on page 10. It's also in finding of fact number 6, where he listed all the convictions. That's the third conviction listed. That's attempted burglary of a motor vehicle. And the correct date of the conviction for that is December 20th of 1993. The date that's cited on there, that's September 2nd, 1993, that's the date of the offense.
It's duly noted that the correctional changes, technical correctional changes on the PFD. Okay, any questions for Mr. Sharp? Mr. Rash, I'm sure you probably heard earlier that we can only take in consideration those items that were presented at the ALJ hearing and the evidence that was presented then. So, if you don't mind, state your name for the record.
Charles Rash.
Go ahead and proceed, Mr. Rash.
I mean, he's pretty much said everything. There were some reviews. I've been working since I got out of prison 2 years ago. I get off parole next month on the 17th. 2 days after I got out of prison 2 years ago, I've been working every day since. He has proof of that. That was there. No dirty UAs. That's proof of that from my parole officer. Job receipts every week. Proof of that from my parole officer. Blemishes. Yes, there's a misdemeanor in there in 2012, but I haven't had a felony conviction since 2007. That's almost 10 years with no felony convictions. I grew up in this record business. My entire family's in it. My Aunt Jeanette helped create the Safe Clear program in Houston. This is what I want to do. I've owned records before when I was younger. You know, hey, you know, it happened. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm trying to reobtain the life that I want to live, and I've done that. But I do want to go back into the record business. I work in the field now, except I just work in customer service. I have a stack of good reviews, which they have, that people put on Yelp, not just something you can have people create. These are the ones that were there. There's more now on Yelp and Google in the company. And they were there also. I don't see there's no reason why not to give me my opportunity to, you know, go back into the towing field. I've been there before. Like I said, I've had my own trucks before in 92 and 91. I was a teenager, 20 years old. You know, got them when I was 18 to 20. That's when I started messing up when I was 21. But still, I've not committed a felony since '07. Yeah, the burglary motor vehicle thing happened. You know, it did happen. I wish that wasn't there. That's almost gone. In November, there'll be 5 years, no convictions. So, you know, I just don't, I mean, I wouldn't be here. Why would I waste my time? I wouldn't be here. I'm trying to, this is what I want to do.
Any questions for Mr. Rash?
Suresh, you understand the concern we have, right?
Yes, I understand the concern you have.
Do you understand the violations that are, even though there is some time, that they're directly reflected with this, the occupation that you're asking to be a license, right?
Yes, sir.
So the bar for me has always been the same. Do I feel comfortable with my wife being stranded and somebody like you coming up and towing and having comfort that there's nothing going to happen? There's a bar that we have to protect the public. One thing you said is you don't understand the hesitation. That's important for me that you do understand the hesitation, because there's a past, and the time allowed isn't given to the person who's convicted of the crime, committed the crime. It's given to the people that the crime was committed against. So I think it's important that you give a little bit of understanding the fact that there is a hesitation and it's justifiable. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Only part that is, like I say, I deal with people on a daily basis. And I have a stack of, like I say, good reviews of customer service of how good I've treated people. And again, I've never committed a felony. I don't even have an assault case. I don't have a violent history. Your wife would not be in danger around me. I'm around people every day. I've never had an assaultive, aggravated nothing, a shoplifting case, a drug habit. I had that. I did that. That's gone.
I'm just giving you a perspective.
I understand, sir.
that maybe-
I know. I just want to say that
I
I've never.
appreciate your passion for the industry, and I appreciate your passion for wanting to work. I do. I just want you to understand there's always another angle that's important that you wrap your mind around a little bit, and I think it gives a little bit pause for anybody with the history that's been, whether it's violent felonies that are there, and the time in jail is important to understand. So I'm just trying to give you, I'm turning the glass around a little bit on you, making
Yes,
sure
sir.
you understand. That's important for you to comprehend that when you appeal something like this. Because one of the number one things is that somebody who's done the violating needs to appreciate the person they violated, right?
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any further questions for Mr. Rash? Any further questions for Mr. Sharp? Go for it, you can have a seat now, Mr. Rash. If you don't mind handing me that sheet of paper. Thank you, sir. Sure. Yeah, I think you got it all there. Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, you need to sign this. I'm sorry. Just right there, it says signature. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, appreciate it. Commissioners, discussion or motion be in order?
I move to accept the PFD.
We have a motion to accept.
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Mr. Rash, we've accepted the PFD, basically we denied your license. You do have some administrative remedies that are still available to you. The staff will get with you just so you know what those are. Okay? Thank you, sir. Let's move on to item number 5, Frederick Clark. Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Ken Sharp of the Enforcement Division. The respondent in this case is Frederick Clark. The department licensed him as a consent tow operator in 2015. He applied to renew the license in 2016. The administrative law judge recommends that you deny the renewal application and revoke his license. In February 2016, the respondent was placed on deferred adjudication community supervision for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The respondent, during the time he was licensed as a tow operator, had become involved in a road rage incident that started when he followed a pickup into a gas station parking lot after the other driver had committed a traffic violation. The evidence showed that words were exchanged, and when the other driver saw the respondent produce a gun, the other person attempted to drive away. The respondent shot at the departing pickup truck, striking it 4 times, with 2 of those rounds going into the back of the cab. The respondent testified he lost his composure in a road rage incident. Road rage arises from traffic and traffic-related incidents, which is precisely in the environment in which tow operators work. The ALJ recognized that the crime of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon is very serious and is directly related to the occupation of a tow operator, and it authorizes the proposed denial and the revocation. The ALJ concluded a person who works in traffic and reacts violently to another driver is not fit to perform the duties and discharge the responsibilities of a tow operator. The ALJ also concluded that the respondent does not have the honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness to hold a license and recommended the Commission deny the respondent's renewal application and revoke his license. The Department asks that you adopt the PFD as it's written.
Any questions, Mr. Sharp?
No question.
Anyone here representing Frederick Clark, or Mr. Clark present himself? Commissioners, a motion be in order.
I move that we adopt the PFD as written.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Sharp.
Thank you.
That concludes our contested cases. Let's move on to item G1, which is our motion for rehearing.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Doug Jennings, Assistant General Counsel for the Department. We have one item on the agenda for motions for rehearing today, and it is the motion for rehearing filed by John Kirk. And this matter resulted from a default order in which the Department assessed administrative penalties against the respondent totaling $3,000. And those are based upon a violation of the rules governing the combative sports program. Specifically, the respondent's pre-bout drug test showed positive for a prohibited substance. In the motion for rehearing, the respondent stated a desire to appeal the ruling, but didn't identify any particular conclusions of law or factual errors on the part of the Department, and didn't state that notice wasn't received. And so we would recommend denying the motion.
Anyone here representing Mr. Clark? Commissioners, a motion be in order at this time?
Mr. Clark or Kirk?
I'm sorry, Kirk.
Thank you.
My apologies. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Kirk. Motion be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Let's move on to item H, which is a review of the penalty matrix for the dietitians program. Ms. Melder, proceed.
Hello again. All right, so this one is for the dietitians program. The last presentation for this was for the midwives program, and this one is very similar. As you know, the penalty matrix is used by enforcement to determine penalties set if we choose to move forward on a case. And this one is structured very similar to the one that was presented for midwives. We did work with the advisory board that approved this to come to you on May 18th. And the advisory board work group members that worked on this were Ms. Weems, Ms. Gutierrez, and Ms. Skinner. Chris is standing by, ready to go through it line by line if you have any particular questions. But as you'll see, that there is just one violation instead of the first, second, and third, like I said, which we have been doing with all of the health-related cases. If you if you have no questions, I would ask that you make a motion.
Yeah, I don't have any questions on my end, so I think it's fairly straightforward. Yeah, what's your time?
Do we have a motion, or do we need a motion?
Yes.
Just
I
move
thought
to
so.
accept.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And our next, are we going to staff reports?
Will the appointments change, Deborah?
Is that the staff report?
No, it's about the staff.
Okay, did I jump to J accidentally? Okay, so back on I. I'm sorry, you want to have a seat because we're going to go right to you afterwards. I mean, no reason to sit down again. Okay. On I, approval of the appointments of the members to the advisory board. The chair, you know what, let's go ahead and skip that since Mike stepped
That's fine.
out.
Sure.
And we'll go on to staff reports like we had planned.
Okay.
Christine, we're going to go ahead and skip the appointment until, Mike just came up.
Sorry.
We can do the appointments after they do their report. but we did-
Sure, go right ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Christina Kaiser, the Director of the Enforcement Division. It's my pleasure today to offer a few words in connection with the Executive Office's staff report. I would like to say a few words to recognize Mark Black, who has been and for another week is a lawyer with the prosecution section of the
Let's have Mark
Enforcement
stand up
Division.
so we can see him.
And totally embarrassing.
Commissioners, when you hear why he only has a week left, I think you'll be in awe. You're going to realize that you're in the presence of great company.
Mark came to work with TDLR in August of 2014, and he worked for about a year in an entry-level Attorney 3 position, and then he was promoted to Attorney 4, and he's been in that position for the last 2 years, working on the tow and vehicle storage program. When he came to work with us, he was a colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, And so already quite a big deal and very impressive. And we have felt honored to have him in our midst. He was recently promoted to the position of Brigadier General in the U.S. Army Reserve. And that was confirmed by the United States Senate on May 25th of 2017. I would like to just say about Mark that words that describe him, and I'm sure all of his colleagues would agree, include gracious, polite, humble. He is a gentleman in the true sense. He has always struck me as a very thoughtful and deliberate lawyer, and he's always been to me in the posture of a student seeking to learn. And think about that, a colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve placing himself in the posture of a student. His words to Brian when he informed him of his promotion kind of indicate Mark's character. He says, "I am, of course, very humbled by this selection and thankful for the opportunity to continue to serve our nation." So I would like to ask you to recognize and honor Mark at this time. And I believe Carla
Mark,
has
if you don't
a
mind, will
presentation.
you come forward, please?
Yeah, General, please come forward.
Yes, I'm sorry, General.
I want to echo what Christina said. He calls me ma'am. He's a general, and he still calls me ma'am, so I'm always humbled by that. We just want to say thank you very much, not only for your service to TDLR, but your service to our country. For the record, the flag that we've given General Black has been flown over the Capitol, the state Capitol, and on his last official day with the agency, he's come in simply for this.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, yeah, it's been an amazing couple of weeks since I found out that I was selected for the promotion. Come from a little small town in North Carolina, and my mother's made the rounds. And everybody in that little town knows that a member of their little high school was promoted. So, but I am very humbled by the selection, and just thankful to get to continue to serve the nation and the great soldiers and families of our Army. Unfortunately, because of the responsibilities of that new position, would not be able to continue here, but I'd just like to say thank you, really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Prior to being hired here 30-plus months ago, I'd been mobilized for the War on Terror for about 5 years, had been away from the practice of law, and sat down and interviewed with Christine, Ron, and Charlotte, and they gave me an opportunity to come here and return to the practice of law, so I'll be forever in your debt. Thank you. For all my friends and colleagues and teammates here, you've taken such good care of me, really. Keeping my family in prayers, all those sorts of things. Just can't say thanks enough. And I'll tell you that I had the great good fortune of accompanying Michael and Ms. Francis over to the Capitol a few weeks back to testify in front of the legislature on some of the veterans initiatives that we were doing here at TDLR. And I can just tell you, walking around the Capitol with those two men, it was so apparent as they engaged with members of the legislature and their staff, what high regard they hold this agency. And I'll tell you, it's always great to be part of a winning team, and that's exactly what we have here. The TDLR model, supported by a great commission. We're continuing to get programs every year, so that's really awesome. So, really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Good luck and Godspeed. Thank you.
I can tell you that I've had the pleasure of knowing General Black, which I have to start calling him General now, And it was, although it was a short time, he was always very respectful. Every time we would come in, I would see him. Somebody could actually just sit down and just chit-chat with you, which is pretty cool. It's difficult to find that. And I know that you will go on and do great things. Just in the little time that we've seen you and known you, you have definitely exhibited yourself as someone that has excelled and is very deserving of the position that you've been honored with by the Senate, the United States Senate. So again, congratulations. I tell you, it's an honor for us to know that you were with us. So go on and do great things.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also, now we have another announcement by Nick.
Mr. Chairman and members, it's kind of bittersweet to have to announce this today, but I want to let you know that Michael Kelly will be retiring from TDLR on August 31st. He's been with our department for 5 years. He's got 28 years of state service. He's also served our country well in the military. We're proud of his service. He's a very valuable member of our staff. He will be missed at TDLR. He'll be missed up at the Capitol. But we're really, really happy for him and his family. We also will have a flag flown on his last day of August 31st. And if he looks a little tired today, it's because he's been kind of playing double duty. He ran down to Corpus this week and represented TDLR at a USO South Texas job fair for veterans, and did a great job for us down there in representing us. And again, we're going to miss Michael, but we're real happy for him and his family.
If I could speak a couple words about Michael. I've had the good fortune of knowing Michael for about 15 years in a number of different entities and roles. Michael has, not only has he done good work for TDLR, but he's done good work for the other agencies he's worked for. And in addition to that, we put together a little listserv team many years ago when I was with a very small agency who had no legislative affairs, and he kept other agencies informed of what was going on in the Capitol because we didn't have the staff to do so, and that's Michael's nature. So we will miss his public service that he puts forward regardless of what entity he's working with, the greater good as he sees it. So as Nick said, he leaves quite a hole in our legislative team and will be greatly missed, but we've been lucky to work with him, and I think now his family gets lucky because he's going to take some time, catch his breath, and I suspect he'll be teaching somewhere soon. Michael doesn't sit still very well, so as is evident from 2 full-time jobs in the military and the state, greatly missed, and glad to have been able to work with him for well over a decade.
I want also to kind of reiterate and let Michael know I've had a longer opportunity to know Michael. He's a great individual. We'll be able to have a time in the future that we'll be able to recognize Michael for the service that he's done. But I tell you this, there's no greater advocate for veterans than Michael.
That's right.
So he will be sorely missed. So, but I understand retirement. My wife is just retired, so I understand wanting to get there and move on. So, and I think you're right. I think we'll probably see him in other venues himself. So, but congratulations on the ability to retire and reaching that milestone. So, but we'll bring Michael up at a future date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, this has left a void in our staff, I can tell you that, with not having Michael, who will be retired, and then also, of course, it'd be great just to know that we had a general on staff, but he's got to move on to other things. So,
We'll give a TDLR hat, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, make sure you take your TDLR pin everywhere you go.
That's right.
You know, so, Commissioners, if you don't mind, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go back up to item I, which is approval of the advisory board members. You've got a pretty deep list. And now, let me tell you why. It's because this has been on the agenda for the last 2 meetings. We have failed to be able to get to it. So I assured our advisory board team that we would get to it today. I actually even threatened to make it the very first thing in the agenda that we would do. But because they've done a lot of work, I can tell you that with the help, of course, of Nick, who heads up this team, but with Mary Winston and Delia Luna and Tamala Fletcher, they have done an excellent job of being able to get this and kind of keeping everything straight. Because I'll come in, I'll say, why are we doing this one again? I said, well, because we haven't done it yet. So, but you have before you a memorandum that will appoint to the Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Contractors Advisory Board Jerry Bittner out of Round Rock, Richard Anderson out of Austin, and Robert Doman out of Austin, and reappoint Dave Yelovic out of Houston. Also to appoint to the Architectural Barriers Advisory Board Michael McDonald out of Round Rock. Appoint for the Board of Boilers Rules Dan Lancaster out of Longview, and to reappoint Bill Quisenberry out of Amarillo, George Crawford out of Lubbock, and Stuart Shannon Nestor out of Austin. To appoint to the Advisory Board on Cosmetology Mary Pascal Lindsay out of Pearland, Texas. To appoint out of Driver Training and Traffic Safety Advisory Committee Sam Webb out of Austin. To appoint to the Electrical Safety and Licensing Advisory Board Marcus Lundgren, Stacy Mighty Malcolm. Marcus is out of Houston, out of Amarillo, and Stacy's out of Houston. To reappoint Joseph Mark Roach out of Portland, and Gary Strauss out of Houston. To appoint to the Orthosist and Prosthetist Advisory Board Catherine Levon Paskowski out of Houston. To appoint to the Polygraph Advisory Committee James Obert, and to appoint Manuel Espinosa to the presiding officer, who's out of Georgetown. To appoint to the Property Tax Consultants Advisory Deborah Baucom out of Austin. To reappoint Stephen Mills as a presiding officer out of Dallas, W. Ken Parsons out of Dallas, and Paul Pennington out of Carrollton, Texas. To appoint to the Speech Language Pathologist and Audiologist Advisory Board Elizabeth Sterling out of Austin. To appoint to the Texas Tax Professional Advisory Committee Gary Ernest out of Abilene, and to reappoint Joseph Sidney Vela out of Alice. To the Used Auto Parts Recycling Advisory Board, appoint Bruce Ormond out of Austin, and to reappoint, Chad Tamoria, okay, who will be the presiding officer. He's out of New Braunfels. Out of the Water Well Drillers Advisory Council, to appoint Stephen Young out of Cedar Park. To the Weather Modification Advisory Committee, to appoint Aurora Farthing out of Lubbock, and to reappoint Alan Zeman, who's out of Pecos. You can see now why we want to do these appointments on a regular basis. That's a lot of reading on my part. I don't think I've read that much in a long time. So, Commissioners, you had that before you. I would ask that you accept the appointments and the reappointments as presented to you.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the appointments and reappointments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations to all those that have been appointed. I can tell you we've had some great candidates. It's been difficult. I've actually had to make some phone calls with staff present to talk to them and discuss it with them. So we're getting some very good candidates. I would also at this time let the commissioners know if you need a list of vacancies, I can tell you we have a lot of public member vacancies for those that may be interested in serving on a state advisory board. If you want that list, just get with Tamla or Delia or actually Mary or Nick, either one, and they can get you that list. And you may have individuals in your community that may be interested in serving. And why don't we do that? Why don't we just send it out to the commissioners? That way they have a list of them. And if they've got individuals that are interested in serving, that they know want to serve, this may be a good way for them to get involved in state agencies. So send that out, and we'll be able to get some more people. As I mentioned, I've got a large number of public member vacancies that I would love to get filled. All right. Thank you, ladies. Moving on, I think that we've got, let's see what else we've got. I want to make sure we don't lose anybody. Real quickly, let's go on to item L, or public comments. If anybody's here for a public comment, feel free to come before the commission at this time. We will allow 3 minutes for you to speak. There being no one present, commissioners, you do have dates in front of you for our next meeting. Well, I thought we did. Yeah, our meetings are currently scheduled, which we've done and gone out. I have mentioned about the commissioner workshop that we have scheduled for the 28th and 29th of July. If there are any items of concern that you would want to discuss, I think we had talked about kind of do some visioning for this commission and where we're going in the future. I would notate that we do have a meeting on July the 14th, and then 2 weeks later, we'll have our kind of visioning, which, for lack of a better word, it'll be here in Austin. We'll, of course, find a place that we need to have it. But if you have some ideas, let me know. Talk to me so we can start putting that together. We do want to have somebody that can kind of guide us through that to do some visioning. I think we've gotten some names before on some of the others, some individuals that have been interested. So anyway, I just want to point that out to you and also know. And after our July meeting, we have a meeting in August 18th. We had a tentative schedule, a meeting for, was it September? That's correct. Okay, that's correct. We are holding off until the building implementation timeline has been kind of ironed out. So by the July meeting, we'll have dates set past August. So we'll be able to pass that on to you then. So we'll probably end up having at least 2 or 3 meetings scheduled at that point in time, or 2 meetings scheduled and then a third one at least tentative, which should take us out to the end of the year. So anyway, just kind of want to bring that up. Let's go back to Jay, our staff reports. I know that our executive director was asked to speak at the comptroller's gathering that they're having concerning Juneteenth, and so he has actually left and is over there to speak. So, but I'm sure Carla and Nick can bring us up to date on anything we need to know.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Carla James. I neglected to ask Michael to come up and speak when we were giving kudos to him. I'm not sure we can get him back in a suit at the end of August to come to a
We have our
commission
July meeting. We'll get him in a suit.
Okay, all right. So we'll schedule that again. My apologies, Michael. So wanted to go over some of the items that we're currently working on. A quick legislative update for you. It was a very busy session for TDLR. I'll go over some quick details and some numbers. Staff attended 65 hearings before 20 different House and Senate committees, which is a very heavy load. Most agencies this size don't carry that big of a load. We had 13 staff members working on that and provided resource testimony, worked with the different offices to provide any data that they needed as it related to our strategic initiatives and any other bills that were filed. We had 219 cost estimates that the agency did for the LBB fiscal notes that are provided to the legislative body. That is a huge increase from what we normally see, and all the staff in the agency work on those, so it's not a singular effort by the folks that work on the legislative items. Staff was tracking 341 bills for our agency, and to put that into perspective, there's over 6,000 bills filed, and we were tracking 1/12 of those essentially. 131 of those directly related to our programs at the agency, 20 related to new or transfer programs, and 191 bills that affect agency operations such as purchasing, human resources, things of that nature. So the strategic planning initiatives that the agency put forward, 93% of those passed. To put that into perspective, I believe that out of the bills that were filed during this legislative session, 18% passed, and we had 93% pass for our strategic initiatives. So just to put that into some comparative analysis for you. I think that's it for the legislative update, other than the bills that are currently sitting on the governor's desk. The veto period ends this Sunday on Father's Day, so we await to see what remains, but I believe that most of ours have already been signed. Nick, did you have anything that you wanted to add for legislative update? No. So I'll move on to the next item if there aren't any questions related to the legislative update. The Next item on our overview is the bill implementation overview. Currently working on setting up teams to implement all the bills that affect the agency. As has been done in years past, it's a combination of individuals from all over the agency that have information that is going to be vital for us to implement these. And we will meet or exceed the timetables that are set forward for us in the legislative bills. So as is par for the course with TDLR, we will meet all of our deadlines or get them done ahead of time. We're going to be providing a commission overview for the new commission portal in the not too distant future, so you can look forward to that as we put that together.
And what is that going to look like, Carl?
I am not aware,
Okay.
Madam, I can't tell you that, but I will tell you that it's going to be, from what I'm aware of, a hands-on discussion of how to get in and utilize the portal, and then get y'all's input on what needs to be added or subtracted.
I would make note, just for the commissioners, the innovation work group, from the Commission Innovation Work Group, we met with the individuals or the staff that's working on that commission portal. I can tell you that once it's released, you'll like it. I think it's going to be great. It's going to give us some real-time stats and data that we can collect and take a look at. It's also going to be a means by which we will be able to access the agenda information. Any communication sent down from staff will be put out there for the commission portal. And to my knowledge, and I think that we asked this question, I don't think that there's any other agency at this point in time doing this type of portal for any type of commission or board members. So we'll kind of be on the cutting edge of this. I don't know if the commissioners want to say anything about it, but I think it's really, it's very innovative, and it's going to be a great tool for us to be able to use.
It'll help us manage the process better as a whole. We'll metric everything out.
We're looking forward to it as well. Having been at a couple other agencies, I've not seen this either. It's hard copy everywhere.
Yeah.
Mailing books and
Yeah, I took a look at it.
that
Yeah.
nature. So as usual, TDLR is in the forefront. I gave a brief hub update to Commissioner Collier before the meeting. We are working with the comptroller's office to square up how the data is entered into the hub system. They're considerably short-staffed right now in that area at the comptroller's office, and working through all of the information that they have to deal with after a legislative session as well. So there have been some coding issues in the system, and it's anticipated that once those coding issues have been rectified, we will see a sharp spike in the percentage of hubs that are utilized for this agency. So I'll keep the commission updated on that as we move forward. Going back to the legislative session real quickly, a special session has been called by the governor. It begins on July 18th, so we're trying to catch our breath a little bit before we go into that. 9 items have been placed on the call, and they vary widely, but there's always an opportunity for agencies to be.
You mean 19?
19, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
And-
You said 9. I just want to clarify that.
Oh, my pardon, yeah, pardon me. Wishful thinking, I'm sorry. There's a high likelihood that lots of agencies will participate in this, so we stand ready to do so however we need to. And
I
we'll
would
keep.
make note that at this point in time, there seems to be nothing that would affect TDLR. Not saying that once session begins, it may not.
Absolutely.
But right now, we haven't identified anything that would be.
That's correct, Chairman. But as you said, you just never know. Let's see. So, again, that starts on July 18th for 30 days. And we did go and meet, as related to another bill, the podiatric board. Brian and I and a couple other folks went and met with them and had a very good meeting. They are very excited about joining TDLR. We are working in conjunction with them on all the things that need to happen as an agency transitions over to TDLR. Their board is very excited about the potential as well, and just not seen anything like this before. A group that's very, very excited to be coming over to the agency. So we were excited as well, and now it's infectious. So looking forward to the inclusion of that board over here. And I think that's all we've got unless, well, one last thing. Nick and I hit 6 months yesterday. So there's no getting rid of us now. Yeah, there's no getting rid of us now.
So the nail keeps getting deeper every day.
Yeah. Well, what I told somebody earlier is my 6-month probation is over, so now I can be Carla and not scare anybody. But Nick, do you have anything to add to the executive report?
No, it's been a whirlwind 6 months. It's been great getting to know you guys and working with you and sharing the passion for this agency and all the great staff we have and directors. Just proud to be here. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Congratulations on hitting that milestone of
Thank
6
you.
months.
Very excited.
Now-
I believe that's our report, Chairman.
Okay, I would also do we have somebody coming up to speak or present?
We did, Jody.
But she had to leave.
She had to leave
That's
and
fine.
take care of some IT issues
I
back at
understand.
the main building. So we thought we would give her a skate and make sure our computers stay up and running.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Before we get out of this particular area, I would make note, Christina, I noticed that our average time to resolve cases has dropped down 38 days. That's impressive.
Yeah, I did see that.
And so
Yeah.
even though our number of cases open and the number of cases resolved have increased, the average days have decreased. I did
Yeah.
make notation of that. So
Yeah, I did see that
tell your
too.
staff congratulations and to keep up the good work. I do want to clarify, and I need to find out for sure. Michael, when is your last day?
31st of August.
Okay, so you'll be here until then.
Yes.
So I don't have to worry about not seeing you again until that day. Okay, then we're good. I was going to bring you up here and embarrass you, but I'll wait. All right, let's move on. I think, we have advisory board reports. Do we have anybody doing that? Eric? Perfect.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners.
Morning.
For the record, my name is Eric Beverly. Give you a brief update on 4 different advisory boards. The Electrical Safety Advisory Board did not meet on June 7th. That's been rescheduled for July 7th. The Auctioneer Advisory Board met on May 31. The General Counsel provided annual training on open records, open meetings, and administrative procedures. Discussed the Auctioneer Education Recovery Fund balance and did a tribute to Presiding Officer Jim Sample, former Presiding Officer Jim Sample. On June 14th, the Midwives Advisory Board met. Commissioner Callier came in for that, and actually the Texas Tax Professional Advisory Committee a couple of days early prior to this meeting, so very much appreciate that. At the Midwives Advisory Board meeting, staff reports were presented, as well as work group reports from Standard of Care and Education Examination. At the Texas Tax Professional Advisory Committee, which happened June 15th, again, the General Counsel provided annual training. Staff reports were presented, and a recognition of Lee J. Rosenberg's many years of service to TDR as an advisory board member was provided. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Eric? I think he's probably still a little tired from a session also, so still trying to recover. So some late nights. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Commissioners, I think that I would ask staff to kind of summarize a kind of a legislative update. I know that we received part of it, but there were some, of course, some very high-profile bills that came our way that we are now overseeing and regulating. We have some consolidation that did take place, the initiatives that happened. If you don't mind, if you could summarize all of that, send it out to the commissioners so we have, which is basically the bills that came to us of new programs, the consolidation that were brought over to us, and also list out the initiatives that we had to ensure that we had those. Also, if you don't mind, let us know where we at on our legislative appropriations request, which I haven't received anything on that. I think by looking, it looks like we got most of what we were looking for, but we didn't get it all. But kind of highlight what that is also and let us know. So basically, just kind of recap the entire session for us and bring it, and send it to the commissioners so that we have for review, and be able to take a look at that, so the commissioners know where we're at.
Be happy to do so.
Commissioners, the only thing we have left is the discussion of meetings, which I've already mentioned.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I bring up something on other business?
if it's not on the agenda, we are not at liberty to do so.
It was a recommendation or a suggestion.
For meetings?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I feel like we have an audience usually here in the mornings that take the time and liberty to make the effort of being here by 8:30. I want to see if the commission and the staff is amiable in this, and maybe we push our executive sessions after the hearings, that we're not holding people back from 8:30 till 10:30 while we're in executive session. So this is just a suggestion, Mr. Chair. Of course, I rely on your best judgment, but I feel like these folks are here for specific hearings, and having them stay for an extra 2 hours doesn't make sense.
Well, seeing as how you dropped your paper in my coffee, that's not gonna happen then. I think,
Stir it up. Stir
yeah,
it up.
I think one of the issues that we have is that we do in the executive session receive, counsel on some issues that we have before us that would be discussed. So it makes it kind of difficult to go ahead and do that. Well, I understand completely. What we may do, which is I think may be a good remedy, is to list executive session at a certain time, and then we would begin our meeting at a certain time that we know the staff can show up at, as an example, 9:30 is when we'll start.
That may be fair, or there are other agencies that have dual executive sessions. You know, there may be some pending issues that need to be done prior to the meeting, and then there's others that can be done after the fact. So
And you're right, we could actually go into executive session, get out, and then go back into it. We
Right.
can always do that too, so that's a good idea.
Just a recommendation, Mr. Chair.
So, well, I don't know, you put your paper in my coffee.
Yeah.
So, any other business to come before? I think we've taken care of the entire.
Hey, Chairman, just a quick question, tied to a part of the staff reports, and I can't recall where it was, but it was mentioning of Laura Hernandez and I believe Lisa working with the declaration of emergencies, when emergency situations. Recall that anywhere? Nobody?
No.
Everybody's deer in headlights. So,
I saw that also. I did see that.
Let the camera go that way.
Okay, we have somebody else who saw that.
So
But are we doing anything with SBA as well, since SBA is, ties in to have workshops, making sure that they're there for small businesses, municipalities, and so forth, and helping in a disaster-related scenario? Just looking at the collaborative effort.
It was
I'm
under
not
the
advised.
licensing division
I'm not
report.
advised, Commissioner. I'll have to get that
Okay, yeah, just
information for
a
you.
suggestion. I'm just a believer in working collaboratively where we can.
And just kind of for references for the commissioners, it was referenced in the licensing division staff report, just so you know that we're not, that Commissioner Collier and I aren't making this up. Lisa Hodak and Laura Hernandez attended a meeting on May 9th to discuss TLR's activation of the Governor's Emergency Declaration proclamation for the tornadoes in Canton and surrounding areas.
Right.
So,
We will definitely get you some
Just so you
information
know.
on that.
Yeah,
we didn't make this stuff up.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if you made something up, it would be
I'm
a
sorry?
lot more flamboyant than that, so.
I think at this point in time, there being no other items to come before this commission, this meeting is adjourned.